Hey, good morning, everybody. We're going to be doing some notes today on the American Revolution. This will help us understand the unit better, and I'm using this as a guide rather than doing a lecture uh, in class. I'm going to give you some points, then pause it, and you can take some notes. Now, the other thing that you'll want to do is you want to make sure that you open up your textbook and follow along in your e-text. You can use the hardcover text also, but the pages may not line up, so I'm recommending that you open up the e-text. I have an assignment created for you, and you can just open up the e-text and follow along. So some of the things that we want to learn about in this unit is we want to look at how Great Britain became a global power. We also want to understand the events that led up to the American Revolution and the impact that the Enlightenment had upon, including the impact of the Enlightenment. There are a couple other things that happened, though, the key events. The biggest event that changed British policy toward the colonies was the French and Indian War, which was fought in North America. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, even though the text doesn't go into it because it's very important. The French and Indian War led Britain to make some decisions that upset the American colonists. We're going to summarize the key events of the American Revolution. We're not going to go into every single battle. We'll be talking about a few of the major battles and giving large, oversized, big picture idea. But we're also going to talk about the attitude that American colonists had. So some of the key events in the American Revolution of the actual war, and then the legal ideas that are found in the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. We did an activity yesterday that talked about the Declaration of Independence and this part right here, how the Enlightenment really played a role in the Declaration of Independence, and you'll also see how it plays a huge role in the development of the United States Constitution. So here are some vocabulary terms that we are going to want to make sure you can go over. It's George III, who was the King of England at the time of the American Revolution, the Stamp Act, George Washington, who is, of course, the Commander-in-Chief of the American forces in the American Revolution and later becomes the first president. And we talked a little bit how he and Cromwell had some similarities, and we'll talk about them later. Benjamin Franklin, who was a large leader, almost a uniting figure throughout the colonies and an international figure for America. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence and became a president. The concept of popular sovereignty. Yorktown, which was a major location. The Treaty of Paris and how that worked out. James Madison, what is a federal republic and what are checks and balances? And we've heard that term. That's an Enlightenment term. So we've also heard that term. So you're going to need to fill these in. You might be able to do it from what you know already. And these are very easily found in the textbook. All you have to do is look for bold print, and you will find that there also is a glossary in the textbook that you can use. So what we also want to look at is we want to look at how. So what happens is by the mid-17th century, Great Britain is a major power in Europe, and it has territories all over the world. It was said that the sun never sets on the British Empire, and that's beginning to become the case. Britain has outposts all over the world, and as an island nation, their navy is very important, and trade. They want international trade. They want people trading goods with each other. Now, Britain had undergone a civil war, and they had changed from an absolute monarchy to a limited monarchy, and this freedom really led to a growth in England. However, there was a new king. His name was George III, and he felt that the monarchy was slipping too much in power, and he wanted to get a little more say. And so he wants to recover some of the power the crown had lost, and his name was George III. Now, Americans think George III is one of the worst kings that England had, but if you look at historians who look at the overall impact of his reign, he actually is a very effective king. Yes, Britain loses the American colonies, but they gain so much more across the world, and they become so wealthy. And he sets up a wealth and a system of trade and treaties that really make England a powerhouse economically. So from one perspective, he did not do well with one part, but in the overall time of his reign, he had a good reign. It's kind of like a baseball game. You can give up a couple of runs, but if you get a rally, you do very well. So, but the conflict that America's having is George III wants to put England on financially strong ground, and his policies towards America help the English finances, but they really hurt the sense of American interests and their finances. I'm sorry, I switched out. Okay, so we'll be looking at the role. How does Britain become a global power? Right there, trade. That's the first thing. Their economy is booming. They are a powerhouse economically, and they are able to make sure that they have worldwide control of markets. This also, as they set up posts, they start expanding territory, and they start taking over the territory, and they start having a more direct control of economics. So they're building an empire. And George III is a strong king. He sets up very strong policies. He actually works rather well with Parliament, who are also enjoying this aggressive growth model that Britain is going on. So what you need to do today is we've gone over a few slides, and we've gone through 5 slides. I've talked a little bit. Now what you need to do is you need to use the textbook and my notes and make comments on each of these slides. These will be due Thursday, and you're going to have about 20 minutes to do it. So that's all for now. Thank you, and have a great rubber day.